Welcome back to another episode of Office Politics. I'm your host, Matthew Stevenson, in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Remember, if it happens in the office, we're here to discuss it. The email today is from the Ukraine, from somebody working in a tech startup, and it reads as follows. What made Steve Jobs a great CEO? How can I learn from him? Well, we all know about Steve Jobs, the founder, one of the founders, co-founder, and later the CEO of Apple Computers. But he was a great CEO in that he produced enormous value for the shareholders of Apple. That goes without saying. But what made him great? Well, there's a lot of things that maybe didn't make him a great colleague. He was determined. He was probably ruthless at many turns. He had imagination, but I would point to one thing that's often overlooked, even in some of the biographies about him. He wasn't afraid to fail. Now, it seems odd to say, why would someone so successful be that way if failure was so often on their mind? Well, I don't think it was ever on Steve Jobs' mind. I think he came to work with a vision of making technology accessible to even the most untechnological people in his universe. But more than that, he came to the office with a view that if he failed, well, he failed, and he'd find another solution for another problem. We often forget that before Apple became Apple, it was nearly bankrupt. Microsoft had to put in something like $100 million, $150 million into the company just to keep it from failing. So Steve Jobs, we know him as the great marketer, we know him as the great synthesizer of technology. But if you want to learn from Steve Jobs, and there's many biographies of his life out there, and there's also documentary films, but take to heart the notion that failure can be your friend. It teaches you things that success may not teach you: humility, perseverance, courage, and apply them in your own life. I don't know what it is that you can overcome when you're on the job, in this case in a tech firm in the Ukraine. But keep in mind that Steve Jobs never thought that failure was the last moment in his career. Well, that's all the time we have today on Office Politics. I'm your host, Matthew Stevenson, in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Remember, if it happens in the office, we're here to discuss it.